Each year, more than 400,000 immigrants enter the U.S. detention system. For some, prior criminal convictions intersect with immigration law, leading to further legal proceedings. At Ohio State Law, Professor César Cuauhtémoc García Hernández was one of the first scholars to explore this intersection in his pioneering book, Crimmigration Law.
So I published my first book in 2015 titled Crimmigration Law, and at the time I wrote that book because I'd seen as a young lawyer and then as a young academic that the immigration legal system in the United States had really begun to envelop a lot of the features of criminal law, a lot of questions about statutory interpretation and sentences and how long people are detained after as punishment for crime, and there was no guide out there. There was no sense of what the lay of the legal landscape was and how it is that we'd gotten to that point.
In January 2024, Professor Garcia Hernandez published Welcome the Wretched.
Welcome the Wretched is a book that tracks the way in which criminal law and immigration law started intertwining with one another, mostly late in the 20th century, to ratchet up the consequences for migrants, for people who are not U.S. citizens, of having some encounter with the criminal legal system. And I show how that's a relatively new phenomenon for most of the history of the United States, well into the middle of the 20th century, and that way the work that I've been doing in courtrooms before I started teaching, and since then in the classroom, and as a researcher, is really just been leading to this moment in which I get to describe, as I do in Welcome the Wretched, that long century-plus evolution, and also prompt people or prod people to think hard about what it is that's working and what it is that's not working about the way that immigration law currently exists and how it's enforced and how we might change that moving into the future.